Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountrysheetcottage.net. So today we're going to talk about sublimation ink in a stamp pad. You can actually use this with stamps you have on hand, like any kind of stamps, or they also make a specialty line of stamps just for the sublimation ink pad. So we're going to talk about why you might want the special stamps, as well as how to use the ink pad with the stamps you already have. And we're going to make some coasters with a few different techniques. So let's start by seeing what we need to make our project. All right, so we're going to be using the sublimation ink pad. Now, right now this is only available in black. You can get just the ink pad. You can also get a refill bottle to refill the sublimation ink inside. And we're going to use stamps, of course, with our ink pad. They make some stamps, so Artistry makes stamps, as well as you can use any stamps you have. So we're going to kind of do both methods so you can kind of see how to do both. You will need some kind of acrylic block with either version, unless you have stamps that are already on a block. But these are like cling stamps, so they cling to like an acrylic block of some sort. And then you're going to need a protective mat, some protective paper. We are going to put this on coasters. So these are sublimation coasters, the Artistry brand. I'll link to everything in the description below once again so that you can find it. But we're going to do coasters for our project, and it's a 4-pack, and we'll probably do all 4. You'll need some heat tape as well as the Artistry markers themselves if you want to color in your stamps. And then you will need your Cricut Easy Press or a heat press. Then you're going to need some copy paper. Regular plain copy paper that you use in your printer is fine. Doesn't have to be anything special. So let's get started with our stamping and making our coasters, and we'll kind of cover all the stamp options and how you do it on the paper. All right, so this is the sublimation ink pad, and you just remove the cover just like any ink pad. It does have a protective plastic piece in here. I leave mine in there just for some extra protection on the ink to make sure it doesn't like evaporate. So let's use the Artistry cling stamps first. So the reason you would want to purchase the Artistry version is because you have to have, your design has to be mirrored when you put it onto your surface. These stamps allow you to do that. So if you're going to do text, I would definitely recommend the Artistry stamps. So let's take one of our coasters, and we are just going to use a pencil, and we're going to trace around it onto this copy paper. So the pencil just gives you a guideline for adding your stamps. So there's that. Now, this is like an adventure pack. So we'll do maybe the tent and the word explore. And you can actually kind of design that. So I picked a acrylic block. It's almost the same size as my coaster. So I can kind of design right on this acrylic block. And then you can see how the words are mirrored once you stamp them. Now, if we want a background color, now's a great time to do that. Or you can stamp and then color around the outside. Either way, and I am reserving my right to change my mind. All right, so I'm gonna do, this is sort of like a mountain stamp and the word explore. And we're gonna stamp this first, and then we will color it in. So we're just going to ink up our stamps just if you were stamping regular paper with a regular ink pad that you're probably used to. And then we're going to kind of center this up on our coaster and press that down really well. So you just want to make sure you get all the areas. Now if you mess this up, it's just paper, right? All right, so now you can see the word explore, and it's backwards. But when we turn this over onto our coaster to press, it will be the correct way. So I recommend, if you're going to use words, that you use the Artistry stamps for those. And then there are different color packs of markers. There's an all black pack. This one is like primary, this one's botanicals. This is the original pack, and it has 10 markers, like whichever one you want to get, and you can just kind of start coloring these in. So this E isn't as dark as the rest of the word, I can actually color the entire word in now, right? So it's just like coloring on a coloring book page at this point, and you can just kind of color things in and go over the top. And then for the rest of this, I can just start coloring the sun. I could put yellow in between these this black. I mean, you could just really have fun with it. Use as many colors as you like. So maybe our mountains are purple. Maybe one's purple and the others are different colors. And then these are pretty vibrant when I'm coloring with them, but I do want to note that it will be even more vibrant once you press it. So if the color seems a little off when you're coloring on your paper, don't worry. It will be super vibrant once you press. And then you can also color the outside if you would like. Now, the reason we drew this pencil line was to locate all of our colors. So when you're coloring the outside, and this is actually a green, but it's kind of looking brown, but don't worry, it'll be green when we press it. You can actually go outside of that line. So I'm going outside of that pencil line. And that way I don't have to worry as much when I line it up. This color will go to the edge. So just color slightly outside of that line. And we'll get a green base for our mountains. And I'm just going to continue coloring this, and then we'll take a look at a few other options for stamping on coasters. All right, so now you can see this one all colored, ready for pressing. I did want to note that you will want to clean your stamps, so just clean them with, a damp cloth or something like that before the ink has a chance to cure on those. All right, so let's move on to another technique. So I'm going to do another coaster down here, and again, I'm going to trace with a pencil. And this time, I want to do the entire thing in a color. So let's do this yellow. So it's like a pale yellow. And I want to color over the entire thing. So one thing, the markers have a chisel tip, so they're great for writing. So I'll just do that over here to the side. So that's the fine point, and then you can lay it down and do really broad points. So then I can just sort of color over, and I'm going to color all the way and outside of the line again so that the entire thing is covered. And then I'm going to take a stamp that's sort of an all-over pattern. So this is dots. So it's kind of an all-over pattern of dots. And I'll actually kind of attach it to this block, although I'm not sure. We may not even need to attach it. We'll just get the sublimation ink on the stamp. Once again, you want to be sure that we clean it after we do this. So I'm doing an area big enough for this entire thing. And then I'm just going to line that up and press that down really well. You can actually use the acrylic block now. Make sure it's pressed down. And then we'll lift that up, and we have a polka dot pattern on paper with sublimation ink. So what am I going to do with this? I'm going to allow this to dry a few minutes, and then I'm going to run this through my Cricut. And I am going to do a mirrored monogram, and I'm going to cut it out. And then when we press it on the coaster, the monogram will show through white, and everything around it will be this cute pattern. I think it'll be a really cute idea and a little bit different for something that you can do with these stamps. So I am going to make a few more, maybe at least one more like this, and I'll cut this on my Cricut, and then I'll come back and show you the results. All right, so here's another version I did. This one is the apple red with the stamp over the top, and then I cut it on my Cricut machine, and I cut a shape out of this one. Now, you put your paper in the corner, and you can actually use snapmat if you're on iOS to locate your design, or you can locate it by the measurement markers on your mat versus the measurement markers in Cricut Design Space. Now, I do have videos for snapmat, and I will drop those below. If you've not used that before to locate your cuts, it's amazing. So I'm just going to pull this off, and I cut like some wreath shapes out of this. And you just want to be super careful when pulling it off. Make sure you don't rip anything. And then the actual little wreath pieces could be used on another project, right? So they are the sublimation ink, and you could use it on another coaster, a zipper pouch, a shirt, like whatever you wanted to use it on, a mug. So one of my wreath pieces actually tore, but the coaster piece itself looks great. So this one's ready to go. So when I press this on the coaster, of course we'll put it face down, and the wreath pieces will be white, and then you'll have this background as the coaster itself. I also did a monogram. So my monogram's in H, so I didn't have to mirror it, but be sure to mirror it if you have a different letter. And again, we'll put that face down on our coaster, and then the H itself will be white, and then you'll have that cute background. So let's do one more coaster before we start pressing. And this time I thought I'd try to do something kind of fun with the background itself. So we're gonna pick a few different pinks. And then maybe a red to finish it off. So we are going to kind of do an ombre effect, starting light at the top and working our way down. And we're going to color the entire background and then add hearts with the sublimation ink. So we're just going to start with the lightest color at the top. Color about a quarter of the way down. And then switch immediately to the next. And in this area in the middle, we'll kind of overlap the two colors. And again, switch, overlap, continue down. We'll just use our red at the very end. And then I have a variety of heart stamps, and I'm going to kind of lay them out right on this stamp block. And then we'll just stamp in the same manner as we did before. And just locate it inside our pencil line and stamp and press down really, really well. And now we have some cute hearts on a coaster. So now let's talk about pressing our coasters. All right, so we have our protective mat, and then I've got my protective paper down, and then my coaster face up, And then let's press these in the order we made them. So the artistry stamps first, and my easy press is heating to 400 degrees for 90 seconds. So we'll need that as well as heat resistant tape. So you do want to make sure this is heat resistant tape, and the paper, you do want to make sure that it's protected paper intended for sublimation, and I'll link to what I'm using below. And I'm just going to do like 4 pieces. So we are going to center this on our coaster. And I just kind of cut around my design, but not on the line. So to give myself just a little extra space around the outside. And we're just going to apply this tape. And we'll put that coaster face up. And we need another sheet of that protective paper over the top. And then we're going to add our easy press. And we'll press for 400 degrees for 90 seconds. Okay, I did want to note that too much time is okay. So if I'm pressing, ignoring the time, still holding down, that is okay. And I also wanted to note that you shouldn't move anything. So any movement might ghost your image. So when I'm done, I'm going to pull straight up. And then I'm going to allow this to cool. So this is probably at about 400 degrees. So you just want to let it cool for safety reasons. So we're going to allow this to cool, and then we'll peel back and reveal our design. All right, so I do want to note on this, if you can see the ink on this paper, you cannot reuse it. If you don't see anything, if it didn't bleed at all, you can reuse it. But reusing it with the ink on there, you might get the ink on your next project and ruin it. So just to note that. And then we'll just peel back this tape. Now this is cool to the touch. Then you can peel back and see that magic. So you can see how bright and vibrant the colors got once you pressed it with your easy press. So now I'm going to press these other coasters and see what we get. All right, so when we are taping down these with the hole in the center, you'll do it the same way as you did the ones without. So we're going to tape in 4 places first. But you're also going to want to tape that front. So you're going to want to make sure that that stays in place while you're pressing. So I have it taped on all 4 sides, and now I can turn it over, and I want to tape down these pieces. So I'm actually just going to run some tape like this, just to ensure everything stays down and stays put. All right, and now everything's down. You can cut us some more paper, and I'll continue to press the rest of these coasters, and then we'll reveal the results. And here's a look at all of our coaster designs. I must say the plaid is definitely my favorite, but I do like the polka dot. This is the one with the artistry stamps, and then this is just regular stamps I had in my stash with 4 different colors, like kind of a ombre or striped effect on the coaster itself, stamps over the top. So kind of 4 different methods to use to make coasters with a Sublimation Ink Stamp Pad. All right, so as you can see, making sublimation coasters is a crazy fun idea. and it's so easy with the use of the Sublimation Ink Stamp Pad. Now, my favorite is definitely this plaid version where I cut out the wreath on the Cricut. Definitely my favorite, loving this technique. Second favorite would be the one I used, same technique for, but used the monogram with the polka dots. You could definitely do like the plaid with your monogram. You can make a whole line of plaid ones for the holidays, like tons of different ideas. Now, once you're done with the sublimation process, this coaster is ready to use. It's completely permanent. Once the chemical reaction is over, then the ink is inside this coaster and it is not going anywhere. I will say that you must use a sublimation surface. So you can't just pick up coasters at Walmart and do this project with it. It must have a sublimation surface, which these do. Again, I'll link to everything I've used in the description below so you can get exactly the coasters I used if you want to. And then, of course, I did a few more, like with the hearts, with the different colors of ink. Now, I did not do one, but I did use the markers for like a watercolor effect a couple videos back, and I'll link to that below. You could do that watercolor effect on a piece of paper, draw your coaster around, and then put stamps on top of that for a really, really cool coaster design. So if you're looking for more of a watercolor effect instead of like these stripes, definitely head back to that video. Check out the way I did that watercolor effect. These markers are water-based, so you can use water with them and kind of make a watercolor effect. Gorgeous, gorgeous. And then I did the one with the text. Remember, your text needs to be backwards before you press it so that it reads correctly once your pressing is done. And that's where those special sublimation stamps come in if you want to do text and that type of thing. Or you could do this method and do like stamp the whole thing and then cut out with a mirrored design on your Cricut, and that would be kind of the same thing. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions about anything we've covered today, please feel free to drop down to that comment section and ask away. If this video helped you, if you learned a little something, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel. We have tons of videos like this all the time. Scroll back, watch a few of those videos, find that watercolor one I was talking about, and subscribe while you're there because you don't want to miss any of our videos. We have them every week. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.